She said that she saw buckets in the corners of these rooms that were being used as bathrooms. R. Kelly called up a 16-year-old girl that he had met at his trial to see if they could hang out a little bit. Geronda Pace was a lifelong fan. She didn't believe that he did it. He invited her to a party and talked to her a little bit and then gave her his number and said, call me, which she did a couple of days later. When she called him, he said, why don't you come over to my house and bring your bathing suit? Don't tell anybody where you're going and call me daddy. She arrived at his mansion in Olympia Fields, a suburb of Chicago, and she went to the indoor pool that he had. And as soon as she got there, he said, okay, change into your bathing suit and then walk for me. And she was like, you want me to walk for you like a model? And he was like, don't talk back, don't ask questions, just do it. And at this point, she told him she was 16. And he said, that's good. This way I can train you. And then he proceeded to tell her, just keep telling everybody you're 19 and act 21. And at this point, R. Kelly is in his 40s. So gross. She tells the same story, had to ask permission for everything, couldn't make eye contact with people when they were around, had to face the wall. If she would disobey the rules, he would look at her and say, well, guess what? You're not eating. And then he wouldn't give her food. She'd be confined to a room in the house, in a hotel, on the tour bus, in the studio, and she would just be like locked in there. He did let her out sometimes though. He let her out when he wanted her to go find other girls for him. And so immediately Geronda thought about a girl named Dominique, who she'd met on MySpace. They were both huge R. Kelly fans and they'd bonded over their love of him. At this time, both Dominique and Geronda are living in the house together, but are not allowed to see each other or have any contact. But they would sometimes sneak at their cell phones to try to text the other to see what was going on, where are you? And they would try to meet up, like they'd have to arrange a meeting, but it never worked because the guards or the people they had like keeping an eye on these girls, they always made sure that it never happened. The breaking point for Geronda is when she claims that R. Kelly allegedly choked her so hard she blacked out. And then she kind of knew, like, this is really bad, this is dangerous. She told him she wanted to get a pair of shoes from her uncle's house, and then she like left and never looked back. After this, she turned over all evidence of the abuse to the police, including her diary. Dominique is still living in this house, and Dominique's mother, Michelle, calls the police because she hasn't been able to get a hold of her daughter in a long time. The police told Dominique's mother, Michelle, there's nothing they can do. She's 19, she's old enough to make her own decisions, and she says she's fine, she doesn't want to leave, so they couldn't do anything for her. Eventually, Dominique would come home to her mother, but she was still secretly texting and calling R. Kelly for the next couple of years. And when she was 21, she told her mother she'd still been in contact with him and he wanted her to move with him to Atlanta, and she was gonna go. At this point, Michelle lost all contact with her daughter, and R. Kelly changed her entire appearance. Now we're gonna move for a moment to Joycelyn Savage, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding this young woman. She met R. Kelly when she was 19 in 2015 at the Savage Family Boutique in Atlanta. The Savages claim that R. Kelly told them he was gonna make their daughter a star. She was very talented. She has beautiful singing voice. When the Savages couldn't locate their daughter for a couple of days, they got worried and they started like calling and texting her, blowing up her phone, and she called back and said, I'm with R. Kelly, I'm fine. Now in May of 2018, TMZ spotted Joycelyn along with another person walking outside of a Beverly Hills restaurant. And they basically, saw her, and you know how TMZ is, they're like, Joycelyn, Joycelyn! They run over, so obnoxious. And they basically say to her, what's going on? Like, obviously you're not a captor of any kind because you're out here just living your life. A person's captor doesn't have to be right next to them or in the same room as them or physically holding them. Well, Dominique's mother, Michelle, saw this interview and she recognized the girl who was dressed up like a boy standing next to Joycelyn as her daughter, Dominique. And she was like, okay, I know she's in Beverly Hills right now. I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna find my daughter once and for all. She went to LA on May 11th of 2018, found out that her daughter was staying at the Renaissance Inn Marriott in Beverly Hills. But then the manager of the hotel came out and he was like, do you want me to just bring you up so you can see your daughter? And he brought her up to the room. And when Dominique opened the door, you could tell on this girl's face, like she was just so happy to see her mother. And she started crying and they both started crying and hugging. But she's also nervous, right? She keeps looking behind her and she's like, somebody else is here. I can't like talk right now, you know, I have to go. And she closes the door on her mother's face. And Dominique tells her, come back at 6. I cannot talk right now, but come back at 6. So Michelle leaves. She comes back that evening. When she gets back though, the hotel manager informs her that her daughter, Dominique, has called the police on her and said that this woman is not my mother and I don't want her around. And if you don't leave the premises right now, we have to have you arrested. Michelle did not believe that her daughter had called the police on her, so she snuck back into the hotel. Good for this woman. She is not giving up on her daughter. She goes back into the hotel, she sneaks in, she goes into like a bathroom and she calls Dominique and she's like, I'm in this bathroom down here. You know, come and meet me. Dominique comes down with a backpack on and they escape, you know, they run out of the hotel like somebody's chasing them. They get in the car and they leave, and Dominique's in the car crying and her mother says, why are you crying? And Dominique says, I'm happy. It was just the hardest decision I've ever had to make. There's another girl that is still with R. Kelly though as well. Her name is Azriel Clary. She met R. Kelly when she was 17 at one of his concerts that her parents brought her to. So they brought her to this concert and he had actually spotted her in the crowd as well as some other girls and brought them up on stage to, you know, dance on stage with him while he was singing. Finally, she did come out and she was so excited. She was over the moon. She was like, he had me sing for him. He thinks I have talent and he wants to, you know, work with me. Azriel was in the 11th grade when this happened. She began secretly communicating and calling R. Kelly, who's like in his 50s. One day after school, she wasn't home on time when she should have been, and her mother got worried. So she kept calling her daughter, not getting an answer. Finally, Azriel answered and was like, don't worry, I'm just at a hotel with R. Kelly. I'm auditioning for him. And Azriel's parents were like, hell no, you are not. You know, they knew his reputation. They knew what he was about. They eventually did find R. Kelly and Azriel in a room by themselves in a hotel. They busted in and they were basically like, what's going on here? And R. Kelly was like, she's auditioning for me. And the Clarys were like, nope, we're leaving. So they took their daughter and they left. And of course, she's a teenage girl. So her parents talk and they're like, well, we don't want to stop her from achieving her dream, but we got to talk to this guy. So they called R. Kelly and they said, you know, we're really disappointed with the way you handled this. Like, is this typically how you conduct business? Because there's no reason you should be in a hotel room by yourself with a 17-year-old girl. We've made that very clear. And R. Kelly said, she told me it was perfectly okay that you guys knew about it. I'm sorry, this is not usually the way I conduct business. So Azriel would go to Chicago to be at the recording studio with R. Kelly, and either her mother, her father, or her older sister Isis was always with her. As Isis spent time with her sister and R. Kelly and the whole atmosphere, she started to notice the controlling behavior. They were in a hotel once and Isis was gonna go out to grab food. She's hungry. And Azriel was like, no, you can't. You have to come back. R. Kelly's gonna get us. You have to ask permission. And Isis was like, I'm a grown-ass woman. I'm not asking permission from some man to see if I can go get some food. And she left. Well, when she woke up the next morning, Azriel was gone. So Isis walked to the recording studio in Chicago and knocked on the door. And one of the guys in there was like, no, they're not here, they left. And Isis freaks out, right? Understandably, this is her little sister. And she's like, where are they? What do you mean they're gone? Where did they go? She didn't tell me anything. What's happening? And she's like making a scene. And then Azriel comes out from the back and she's like, what's going on? And Isis says, what's going on is we're leaving. So she grabs her by the arm, she's like pulling her out the door, and R. Kelly's on the other side of this girl, grabbing her other arm, pulling her to keep her there. So they're having a tug of war with this little girl. And finally, R. Kelly tells his cronies, get her out of here. And the Goonies like grab her, pick her up, put her in the car, and they drop her off in the back alleyway of a McDonald's. And they tell her, if you say anything about this to anybody, your sister will not make it. So the next day, the Clarys, Azriel's parents, they fly out to Chicago and they meet with R. Kelly and they're like, what the hell's going on here? And he's like, it's not like that at all. Isis completely overreacted. It wasn't like that. We're all good here. Still, the Clarys weren't comfortable, so they took both their daughters and they flew home. But R. Kelly did not want Azriel at home. He wanted Azriel with him. So he invited her to go out on tour with him, and her parents were at first not comfortable with it, obviously. But he promised them that she would have a female chaperone, somebody from the record label, with her at all time, and they agreed to it. And she went out on the road with him. When she turned 18, she cut contact off. That's when Isis admitted to them what had actually gone down at the recording studio. And she said she would go into different rooms at the recording studio and there was all sorts of girls just waiting in these rooms. And she said that she saw buckets in the corners of these rooms that were being used as bathrooms. So I mean, at this point, it's pretty clear to me, and I don't know how you feel about it, but it's pretty clear to me that when he got in trouble for messing with underage girls, with the sex tape and all the allegations and all the lawsuits that came out, he modified his technique and he started going for girls who were just barely legal, right? 17, 18. And you may say that's okay. That's okay, because at this point, is it sexual abuse? It's not, sexual abuse of a minor, so it's okay. The fact is, what he's doing to these 17 and 18 and 19-year-old girls isn't really any better, is it? Because they're still young, they still don't know who they are, they still don't deserve to be manipulated and mentally and emotionally abused, told they're terrible, made to have each other in orgies that they don't want to do, and have this whole uneven power balance where you basically have somebody you've looked up to your entire life, who you trust, who you admire and respect for their musical ability and the philanthropic things they've done for the community and the world, and you're like, this is a great person. You don't deserve to have that person then turn out to be a monster who just wants to use you and keep you locked up in their house so they can have with you whenever they want. Nobody deserves that. Not at 14, not at 20, not at 45. Nobody deserves that. I love you guys so much. Have a beautiful day. Stay kind and stay beautiful.
I feel it in my bones.